What kind of music are you guys doing, working with? What kind of artists? What's the plan around music?
Yeah, so as far as music, I have a lot of different musicians who come out for different reasons. I say I and then I say we. So I mentor a lot of musicians online. And so in that mentorship program, a lot of them come out here. And what we've seen is that there's an arc to when people leave a major city and when people get a chance to be around a community that supports them, especially with creative types. Because a lot of creative types are very empathic, and that's how they're able to write the music that they do, is because they're able to really touch them with their emotions. But what happens is in a major city, they have a lot of processes going on. And if you think of the brain like a computer, when you have a lot of processes, your computer can't run as good. You have to clear out the processes in order to let it actually run smoothly and actually run more powerfully. So, in the same thing, when they come out here, they're able to remove a lot of the processing power, and they're able to come back to that computing power in a sense. And let's say their Wi-Fi is able to work more clearly because it's less static, and they're able to be more connected with, let's say, source information. So when they come out here, we do these songwriting sort of escapes where they get to actually get back to why they started writing songs in the first place. And then they get to take that out into the world and use that energy, which I've seen literally, I've seen people transform because even when it comes down to hearing, and I think I talked to you about this recently, when you're in a major city, your ear, or anywhere else in general, but when your ear shoots off cortisol, happens when it usually goes above 85 decibels. So the same thing if like a dog just started barking behind you. If you hear a big Rottweiler, you're going to jump up, and that's going to shoot cortisol and adrenaline into your body. Now, to get someone into a deep state of, let's say, trance or fear, you'd be shooting that cortisol all the time. And then eventually that's how becomes the running of their system. That comes the back line of how they operate, of that operating system. And so in a major city, they're hearing buses and ambulance and sirens and fighting and motorcycles, and all these things are happening at very, very high levels, which is way above the 85 decibel mark. And when that 85 decibel mark is hit over and over again, they're processing all of these things, but they're not being allowed to process themselves. So they get kind of confined. So I've seen major things with those artists who are up and coming to basically disconnect and then really see themselves for the first time in a long time that they haven't, because it's been so kind of so oversensitized. Now the other thing when I say the we with our company is we put on private retreats where we invite, like the last one had musicians from 14 different countries who are all experts in their craft. And what we've noticed is that there's a very interesting thing that happens when experts in their musical fields come together. The first part is that every person who becomes a master at, let's say, blues or some sort of genre, let's say, that genre came from a certain root. So you can kind of trace it back. You can hear when someone's good at Celtic songs, you're like, okay, I can hear where it came from. It came from this area of the world. Or if someone's really good at classical music, you can tell where it came from in the world. So when you bring people from different countries who are all masters, meaning they're past the thought process, they no longer have to think. It's more of a reaction of and being a direct source to be inspiring and to be creative. When you put all of them in a room together and kind of say, just play, when you go back to the idea of playing, there is a beauty that happens in the music, because when I play something in blues, someone else might play something, like I said, with Celtic, someone else might play something indigenous, someone else might play something from Brazil. You have all these different sounds that start to react almost like a chemistry. And music is the only like language in a sense that has no real words. So as this chemistry starts to interact with one another, it actually becomes its own sort of source, like it's like, let's say, a ball of energy. And as that ball of energy bounces around the room, as one musician gets inspired and passes it to another musician and passes another, that starts to grow. And what we've seen is that growing of energy actually has a healing property to it. And it's not in a woo-woo or hippie way. I mean, it generally creates an energetic ball that's rooted from where people have learned, in a sense, information, because that's what the energy is. It has information rooted in it. And as that goes across the audience, I've seen people healed. People come up to me and they said, I've healed from addictions. I've healed from traumas. I healed from things. And I'm like, from what? They're like, from the concert. So
Wow.
that's a little bit about what we do. It's not a planned thing. We just take all these amazing musicians who we already know are connected to that source anyway, and we put them in the same room together on the same stage and say, we have no clue what songs can come out. Just press a chord and let's see where this goes. And one song will become an hour-long experience, and no one knows. Even the people on stage have no clue what's going to come out. And that's where we've seen what you would call real magic in real time.
That's fascinating. Is this the first time in your life you've ever seen anything like that happen?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've been playing music for a long time, and I've seen people jam on songs that they know, which is great. Every artist, when you go on a major tour, after around the six weeks to like 3 months, there's a gel that starts to happen because now they understand the audiences, they know the reaction points, they know where the big height of the show comes, and it takes them some time because they have to do it live to feed off the audience. But they're usually creating songs that they know, okay, you're going to this chord and the next is that chord and we'll follow you. But I've never seen it where people say, I have no clue what's going to happen right now. Let's do this in front of people. And then let's do it for as long as we can. Let's try to ride that wave, that flow state for as long as I can. I've never seen that except for what we've done out here. And I'll be honest, some of the musicians come up to me, not some of them actually, like all of them come up to me and say something, but some of them come up and say very specific things. And one of the specific things being, that was the best show I've ever played, that I've ever been a part of. I've never been a part of something like that with that many amazing musicians. And two, that they've been healed on stage as well. Because when they, let's say, close their eyes and they're in a state, they're like, I was in a trance, a full-on trance while I was up there. And it's because they were able to let go of the processes and then kind of explore the possibilities, but live in front of people, which is, it's pretty impactful when you see it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Is that like the ultimate form of improvisation? Like what's going
Yes.
on for these guys?
Yeah. Oh, completely. Because and you can see it too. Now that we've done a couple of these, so I kind of know what I'm looking for, or I know the cue points, let's say. But for instance, the piano player last time, no clue what he was going to play. He just started playing a chord progression, and then it happens in the eyes first. Which, if we think of the idea of the eyes are the windows to the soul, you'll see first the person plays the chords, and then there's a violin player that sees what they're playing, and then almost like they trigger in their mind, like, okay, I know what would go really well, and then they look at their hands and where they're going to play. So there's like a contact point, and they start to play something, and then the cello player will look at them, look at their hand placement, hear the music, and then they do a thing and they'll nod. They even do it's a very subconscious thing. But then the drummer will start to do the same thing too, and you start to see it's like a passing of this information. And similar to the way birds and fish, they move on a drop of a dime, and they don't know where they're going, but they know they're going there together. That happens musically. So it's this morphogenic field that's created, and it literally happens on a dime where someone will change the chord and everyone's like move right with it fast.
That's amazing. Yeah, we've seen that in ceremony between us and nature and sort of the entire space. And you get 3, 4 shamans all working together and everyone's in that sync, and nature seems to move with it too. And I think what happens, I think it's just like how schools of fish move or how herds move. I think it really is. I think it's like everybody gets into this fourth dimensional or time-based sync. And then from that perspective, they're able just to keep able, to follow each other and work off of each other, but ultimately stay fully connected.